All right, welcome back. We've got an emergency 5 a.m. video for you guys. So bear with me, I'm just warming up, but this is some pretty wild stuff going on. Could barely sleep last night. We're seeing markets in turmoil and intense volatility. So we're going to take a look at the charts. I'm going to break down a little bit of what's going on. I don't have all the answers, but I'll give you an idea of what I'm seeing out there. If you watched my market video from Friday, I mentioned to be prepared for a potential recession or something worse. And I mentioned at the end that I was looking into what's going on in Japan and I would make a video if it was relevant to what we're doing here. Well, apparently it is relevant to everybody. So, um, again, it's early in the morning. I don't have all the facts. But on a simple note, what's going on here is in Japan, the interest rate has been so low for so long, and there's this thing called the carry trade where people would borrow the Japanese yen at a low interest rate. So they borrow money at 1%, and then they would take that money and then they would go buy other assets. So you could borrow the yen and repay that for 1% and take your yen and go buy US bonds that are giving you 5%. Or even better, you can go buy stocks in the US market with your Japanese yen that you only borrowed for 1%. And even better than that, when you set up a brokerage account, you could set up a margin account to where all you need is 50% collateral. And that trade's been working for a lot of people for a long time because the Japanese yen has been going down in value. So if you borrow $1,000 in Japanese yen and the value of that yen goes down, when you eventually repay that loan, you get to pay back less because the value has gone down. So it doesn't cost as much to repay because the value of the yen has been continually going down for a long time. It hasn't been making these huge spikes up. And also, if you are investing that into productive assets like the US stock market, you are making some good returns on that money. So it was cheap money to borrow, and then people were putting that into assets that would hopefully appreciate until something went wrong. So we saw last week the Bank of Japan raised interest rates, which caused the Japanese dollar to increase, spike. So now the dollar is stronger, it's not weakening. So when they pay back the loan, they're having to pay it back in full. That on top of possibly the assets that they were investing that borrowed money in declining in value. You've got a margin call because your assets are worth less than what the margin is required. And now you're going back to repay the loan, and you used to be repaying the loan. Let's say you took out $1,000 and you only needed to pay back $900 because the value of the yen has gone down. Now you're having to pay back $1,100 plus you lost 30% because you bought Nvidia. So we're kind of seeing a worldwide margin call and selling orders be triggered. It's real apparent if you look at something like Bitcoin, the amount of liquidations that have gone on in the crypto world over the last night. Billions of dollars of liquidations, which you don't see these kind of candles. It was kind of funny because I had it on, I had it open. I look at Bitcoin, checking my email. It's down 2%, typical Sunday. I turn my head, I look back, boom, down 6%. I'm like, something is going on here. And then I was very anxious to see what the futures, the stock market futures would look like when they opened up on Sunday. And the market is in pre-market right now, but we are in free fall. I've never seen the futures, since I've been paying attention to the futures, I've never seen them have such a large move on a Sunday night. So we're seeing huge drops across the board, across the indexes. S&P 500 is down 4.5%. The NASDAQ was down 6%. You've got the Japanese, the Nikkei index had circuit breakers triggered, so they stopped trading because there was so much volatility. They shut down the bond market, and I believe they circuit breaker the stock market. But you had the Japanese stock market down 12.5%. South Korea suspended all selling orders from sell programs. So a little bit of GameStop action going on there to help stop the bleeding. And you're also seeing, so it's a worldwide thing. Everyone's getting margin called. Um, People are de-risking across the board. So we also are seeing interest rates plummet again. So again, people selling stocks, getting auto liquidated, and potentially putting that into bonds. Now, when we look at individual stock names, we've got Nvidia down 14%, 92 bucks. Um, Pretty unbelievable move. Tesla back under 200 bucks, 187. Wow. Amazon, my fresh purchase of Amazon on Friday is continuing to be underwater, down another 8.5%. The SMH, wow, down 8%. It's early, guys. I'm looking at these for the first time with you. Google down 7%. You've got the Qs down 6%. So we are just in a complete free fall. There's a lot of other stocks. I wonder what Coinbase is doing. Where's Coin? 18.5%. Wow. I mean, this is, I'm laughing just to take the sting off. Apple down 10%. Just hit a wall. And so you also had the news over the weekend with Buffett selling 50%. Now, I'm real interested with what's going on with Warren Buffett. Not that he's getting margin called, but he did invest some money into a lot of Japanese brokerage accounts. So maybe he's de-risking because he has to, or maybe he's de-risking because he wants to just go in there and buy that whole sector for pennies on the dollar. Because you did see some Japanese banks down 20%, 12%. So let's look at gold, because with Bitcoin dying last night, okay, gold is given back too. So people are just selling whatever they can get their hands on. But gold looked pretty strong last night while everything else was falling apart. So pretty unbelievable price action. You've got oil down 2.5%. Volatility. Look at this. Let's go. Oh my gosh. This is 2020 vibes, everybody. Yep. Wow. So what's going to come of this? I have no clue. The scary part is this is probably going to push us in a recession if we're not already in one. And the question is how deep, how long? And, nothing would surprise me at this point. It wouldn't surprise me if the Fed came out and did an emergency rate cut. It wouldn't surprise me if the Fed came out and said, we're going to be supportive to businesses and financial companies so they don't go under and it doesn't cause domino effects throughout the world. Is that this week? Is that next week? Do they let the NASDAQ, do they let the S&P drop another 20, 30% before they step in? Nobody knows. But it's a tricky time right now. I will be watching the market before my clients and after my clients this morning, and I will hopefully do a video for you guys at the end of the day. But it's definitely going to be a big news day. There's going to be a lot of chatter. There's going to be a lot of volatility, and let's just wait and see what happens. But everyone's going to be looking at the Fed. They don't have a meeting until September, but they're probably going to do something before then. Now, how big is that move going to be? Is it just going to be cutting rates? Because you cut rates, what does that do? No one's going to be super excited if they cut rates to be like, well, now's the time to go buy a house, even though prices are high. We're going to still need to see a big correction in prices. The consumer, if you watch the stock market, you're rattled right now. You're a little anxious, and it's a huge move, but look at the NASDAQ. We're still at the top. We've just got back to where we were at the beginning of the year. Similar with the S&P. So the Fed may come in another 30% from now to bail us out. The question is, can some of these institutions survive? another 30% on their assets collapsing, and that's just public stocks. What about other assets? People may just be liquidated across the board in their portfolios. So anyways, like I said in the last video, be prepared for the worst, hope for the best. But longer rambling video, but I thought I'd get this out to you guys. So anyways, have a great rest of your Monday morning, and we will talk soon. Hopefully we'll have some clarity on this craziness. So that's all I got for you guys. All right, peace out.